All right, what's up, y'all? We're gonna do some hip mobility today. This is about a 15-minute sequence, and I'm gonna do it here for you so you'll see me going through the motions. At the same time, I'll be explaining it to you in the third person, I guess. As you see, I'm crab walking here, right? We're not going to be crab walking today, but the base of the work we're going to be doing on our hips is from this position. And I just call this crab base. You'll notice my back's pretty straight. Knees are bent. Probably a little too bent here. You'll notice I make a little adjustment. Yeah, there we go. A little bit easier, a little better. You know, good, about a 35, 40 degree angle. Heels in the ground, butt bones in the ground, hands planted down. Nice solid base. Core activated and spine nice and stable. Then I'm going to take my left hip, and from inside the hip socket, you'll notice that big long femur bone that runs down from my hip to my knee. It's rotating to the inside and it's rotating to the outside. So that's what we're going to do on the left side here. I don't want you to use the big muscles of like your adductors or the inside of your thigh or the IT band, the outside. I want you to focus on using the muscles deep in your pelvis and hip socket, your pelvic floor muscles, those deep glute and hip muscles. Okay. Glutes are okay. And the deep pelvic floor muscles. Now we're going to go to the other side, do the same thing. Now I want you to notice as my femur rotates, my knee, shin, ankle, and foot all rotate together, as well as the hip, right? So it starts at the hip, then the femur rotates, then the shin rotates, and I'm trying to keep it all together. Do a pretty good job here. But it gets a little tricky when we start to actually do some more dynamic movements. You can really see where your issues are. Here in a stable position, this is rotating pretty well. But I do know I have some issues on this side, and I'll point them out a little bit later. So we do about 10 reps on each side, and 10 to the inside, 10 to the outside. Notice my hands are nice and quiet, upper body is nice and stable, and we're just trying to rotate from the socket. I reset myself, and now we're going to rotate both femurs at the same time. So one's going to go to the left, and the other one's going to go to the left, and one's going to rotate to the outside, and the other is going to rotate to the inside, just like windshield wipers. Again, upper body nice and stable. Try to be glued down at the tailbone and let those hips rotate in the socket, and then let the femur rotate, the knee follows, the shin, the ankle, and the foot. If you look at my angles here, they're pretty good. I'm pretty stable. There's some tight things in there, especially in my right hip. I feel it, especially. But it's moving pretty good. So we started unilaterally working on one hip at a time. Now we're doing both hips. I'm going to reset, and we're going to actually rotate as far as we can. And then what you're going to notice is your hips are going to want to turn to the side, and your torso is going to want to follow it. We're going to kind of rotate into that position. So now you're just basically 45 degrees, 90 degrees from where we started. And your legs are in that internally, externally rotated Shinbox position. And that's what we call it. If you look at it, my legs pretty much make 90-degree angles. If you're not able to do this, you just kind of scoot your heels in towards your butt to about 45 degrees to start. And that makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to hold that position. Let's take a look here again. We're just going to rotate those hips, rotate, let the hip turn, let the lower back turn, let the middle spine turn. I'm going to use my hands to create stability through the ground. Fingertips are touching, pushing down into the ground with my legs as well to create stability. And I'm really just trying to find a strong position at the end range while I breathe. Inhaling deeply, exhaling. It doesn't look like I'm breathing, but I really am. I'm breathing pretty intensely here. So basically held this position for 30 seconds on each side. And then we're going to move back and forth with a little bit more fluidity. And this is where it starts to get dynamic, and it's really easy to start to use the wrong muscles and tissues to rotate. So if we notice here, I rotate everything to the right, I turn, so the femur turns. And then I rotate back to the other side. Femurs rotate. Get into that 90-90 position or that shin box position because my shins kind of make a box in a way. I'm going to reach forward, nice long spine, try to extend and make my posture better. And I'm just rotating back and forth. Again, same thing here, 10 to 20 repetitions. Really reach, create length, feel like a rubber band being pulled apart with good tension. And drive your legs down into the ground. You're going to feel a good stretch in the hip and lower back on this lumbar spine, and your QL in your lower back is going to feel great after this routine that we're doing. Just work back and forth, nice stable base. Use that tailbone right between your glutes as a gauge for where you want to get to base crab, and then rotate around that tailbone to get into shin box with a little bit of a reach. It's almost like a deep squat pattern. It's kind of what you want to feel like when you're at the bottom of a deep squat. You want to feel that tension in the glute through your back all the way through to your hands. So you want to really feel a lot of tension be built up, like a power that could be used to explode from or to move in another direction from. So we're really trying to not be loose here. We're trying to be super active but stretchy. So yeah, the left leg looks pretty good with the rotations. And now we're going to go up into a hip extension. So this is pretty tricky. And then I'm reaching back down to that base crab, over to shin box, and then reach forward, put your hands down and use your hands to help you lift up and stretch out your hips, stretch out your arms. Use your hands to get back down if you need to. You can try to do it without your arms as well. It's pretty fun. Reach, extend the hip, rotate to the other side. And again, 10 to 20 reps alternating. I just do it until I feel like I'm making progress and it feels good. So it could be 10 reps, could be 20 reps, you know, it's all dependent. So we're just going smoothly back and forth from side to side, trying to control it as much as we can, creating good tension, relieving bad tension, and trying to be smooth and fluid with our movements. If we start to go too fast, things will get out of control and you won't even realize that you're not doing much good, but you might actually be doing more harm with the movements that you're doing by creating even worse patterns. So now we're gonna bring it down into a forward fold. So reach all the way forward and slowly bring your hands and forehead down to the mat. Your neck should be really loose here. And your arms should be nice and relaxed. You should feel a good stretch between your shoulder blades, lower back possibly. And you're going to feel an extremely big stretch in your glute and your hip. This is very similar to pigeon pose. So I'm going to get into shin box, reach forward, and then I'm going to fold down, really loading the tissue right above my glute. So my belly button and all that weight is really sitting down on my hip. There's really not much on the top part of my torso. So first round here, I'm holding it for about 5 really deep inhales and exhales to each side. And then we'll start to move again in a more fluid, flowy way. So shin box to forward fold, exhale down, come back up, inhale, base crab to shin box, little reach to a forward fold, exhale, come back up, big inhale, rotate again, exhale down into a forward fold, and just keep going back and forth. 10 to 20 reps or until it feels good. You'll hear me say that over and over again. Sometimes it may take more. The number is whatever it takes for you to feel like you've made improvement, so that when you do it next time, it's going to feel even a little bit better when you start. So we just go back and forth. Really feel like I'm starting to get some good movement. Everything is feeling pretty dialed in and moving together. Just remember, inhale up, rotate base crab into Shinbox to a forward fold. Exhale down, inhale back up, rotate to a Shinbox position, down into a forward fold. Exhale, relax your neck and your forehead, come back up, back and forth. Find a pace, find a rhythm. Okay, so here I move up into a bridge. So we're really opening up the shoulder blades here, getting a good lat stretch as well as a good glute activation and a hip flexor. Your obliques get a good stretch here. Quads get a decent stretch. And I'm holding it for about 5 breaths. And notice, same thing, crab base to shin box. This time I'm just dropping my hand back, pressing into the ground and extending my hips while reaching up as high as I can, looking up to my hand if I can remember to do that, and really trying to open up my shoulder blades to create space between the scapula and the spine. All those rhomboids and deep muscles that always feel either too tight or too locked up. We're trying to get those all moving and get all that good stuff feeling more like soft tissue as opposed to concrete. So now that we've done it for about 5 seconds on each side, we're going to go back and forth. Bridge and reach. Really extend those hips, reach as high as you can, create as much space between your shoulder blades, rotate to the other side, reach back, post up and reach, arch. Really drive open the right hip and then the left hip. Squeeze that glute and just keep going back and forth. Again, 10 to 20 reps, alternating or until you feel like you've improved upon your current state. It's amazing how quick 15 minutes goes. So essentially, this sequence allows you to really get your hips moving in all the directions that they need to move. It's primarily a sitting position, but it actually counteracts sitting all the time. We do go up to our knees and we extend the hips, so that's where it differs a little bit. But at the end of the day, the Shinbox series that I've shared with you here is a really fun, easy way to clear your mind, to really focus on making sure your hips and your pelvic floor is functioning the way it should, or at least better than it currently is. To stretch out that arm lines, get those scapulas opened up, get some activation in the muscles that need to be activated, such as your glutes and the latissimus dorsi muscles of your back. And then do a crab walk. See how you feel. Go forward, go back. You might have some fun with it. Yeah, so there we go, back and forth. Man, that feels pretty smooth. I like it. Drop the butt down. Let's do a few rotations just to kind of see. Ooh, man, that's moving really good. It's pretty greased. Yeah, a little nod there. Feels good. Check out the other side. Everything feels like it's moving together. Shin, ankle, knee. Everything looks like it's rotating from the hip. Upper body's fairly quiet. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, it's just a little hamstring stretch. Kind of get that back a little stretched out, and let's call it good. Hopefully you enjoyed. Peace out.